Roselli Northern supports upstate New York construction with over 400 employees, 250 trucks, 9 ready-mix plants, 4 blacktop plants, and 40 aggregate mines. But their most important number is your bottom line. Contact them today to see why Roselli Northern has been the choice for contractors and project managers across upstate New York since 1929.
All right, everybody, welcome into Fresh Takes with Russo and Felice. Paul Russo here, Nick Felice as well. Boy, oh boy. I feel like the main headline isn't what we lead off with today. It's weird, but we got the NFL, obviously. Week 13, Thanksgiving football certainly gave to us, I guess not just in the NFL sense, but also college sense. So, yeah, we got some stuff to get to there, and then we have to sprinkle in a little college basketball as well because Thanksgiving also gave on the college basketball side.
Do you have any news about Juan Soto?
No. Do you?
He's expected to sign this week.
Since when?
Did you hear?
No.
Yeah, news came out, I think, yesterday. There's rumors that he'll make his decision this week.
Oh. I know he started eliminating teams or whatever yesterday.
This show has had some breaking baseball news over the years. Maybe it will happen in the next 40 hour.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see. We got to thank a couple of our partners, though, in addition, as I also inadvertently click in and click off of things. So, obviously, you saw Roselli Northern at the top. Also have to thank a couple more of our sponsors, including Chino's Pizzeria and Restaurant. You can visit them at their original Waterloo location or all new renovated location in Geneva. Dine-in, takeout, delivery, catering, and banquets. You can order online at chinos.com. Live, laugh, and eat well. It's the Italian way. And Finger Lakes Partners Insurance. Get the insurance you need from the people you know at Finger Lakes Partners Insurance, the Finger Lakes Insurance Agency. For your home, auto, or business, you can get a no-obligation quote today at fingerlakesinsurance.com. So we'll begin, as we usually do, Nick, in the NFL. It's kind of interesting how the Thanksgiving weekend kind of played out. I thought going into Sunday, let me rephrase. Even for the first little bit on Sunday, I'm like, this is going to be not ho-hum in terms of week or whatever, but, I'm sitting there going like, the Bears are probably going to be the main headline. And that is not the case. So, I don't know where I fully want to begin here. I think we do have to start with that Trevor Lawrence hit and everything. That ended up being the main headline. That still remains kind of the main headline from the weekend even, just because of the press conferences and stuff like that the Texans have had since. And first off, brutal hit. And we hope that, obviously, Trevor Lawrence is all right. It's been a weird, to me anyway, I don't know if you feel the same way, but it's been a weird rhetoric around this hit, though, compared to others.
Because we've seen this before.
Yes, but even then, though, like,
Because of the
I think the Tua situation is a little bit different at this point. I hate how, like, I don't disagree with, like, my brother, for example, Pat, who's been on before. It's been a while, but, he brought up a good point. It's where it's like, well, every time this happens to Tua, we talk. I'm like, yeah, but, like, you kind of phrases it like that, and, like, there's a reason why we talk about, like, the way we do with Tua. But, like, it feels like there's blame being put on Trevor Lawrence when there shouldn't be. And I'm not saying the people talking about it are wrong the way that they are. It's just weird and gross that you're frankly blaming the victim on this one and not Aziz Al-Shir, who I hate how people are kind of like, well, this is just the way he is. Like, yeah, but like I hate how people kind of like designate certain tags on players when they really shouldn't be. Like, I get it, but he's also not Vontaze Burfict here. Like, let's pump the brakes a little bit. It's just been a really weird discussion around this one, and I don't it shouldn't be happening the way that it is. You know, more than anything else. Like and maybe we can get more into the sliding thing in a second here, but like the dialogue around it this time is just super strange to me. Super strange.
It's the reason it's blown up because of the fallout, what the Texans have said after.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And if Trevor Lawrence just gets up after that play, there's no story here.
Yeah.
He'll get a penalty still, but there's no suspension. If he just gets up, it's just how it all went down, how he got hurt. Because we've seen hits like this before, and they've never blown up this bad. I mean, we're still talking about it. The game happened 3 days ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and obviously Texans-Jaguars, big rivalry.
Well,
Same division.
that division's weird, though, with stuff like that.
Yeah. But it's just how everyone reacted in the game and after the game, and it's just kind of just blown up. And I don't know if he was just three. It's hard to always determine how many games he should be suspended. 3, because I've seen dirtier hits.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a dirty hit, but I've seen dirtier, and I don't have the history books on me right now. I don't know how much another hit has gotten. 3 games seems like a lot, but that's what they gave out, and
that portion of it just feels like the league is kind of sick of these still somehow happening, and so they're just like this one just feels like they're sending a message more than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just how like the Texans reacting after that. Was it the GM and obviously the coach going nuts at the media after saying like defending their player, obviously. But yeah, I mean, that is definitely one of the big takeaways from this week for sure.
Yeah.
Also, the Chiefs getting lucky again.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, and then the discourse about quarterbacks in general sliding. And like Rex Ryan saying whatever, and the Tom Brady one I kind of chuckle at because I'm like, you weren't quick enough to have to worry about that. So like I don't.
It's tough.
Sit here and whatever, but like I sit here and I kind of have to laugh because like Rex Ryan's one of the guys at the front end of saying how like at the beginning of this like, the quarterback should just slide and give himself up then, and now he's on the opposite end. And look, like I get it. Like some of these slides are pretty late. Like I understand it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the same token, like how long have we been teaching defenders now not to go in helmet first and crown first and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Like it's a two-way street. I'm not going to sit here and act like it's a one-way street. This is definitely a two-way street. But like to blame a sliding quarterback in this deal is wild to me. And then for a lot of these guys to double down and say that like we should get rid of the slide is just, to me, it's laughable.
I mean, that's how they protect themselves.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, this is entertainment, and the quarterbacks are the main piece of the entertainment. So, and if there's no slide, they're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's a tricky situation because when you do run, you are a running back now, and because you got to defend the defense as well. And yeah, that was doesn't have a lot of time to react there, but he went helmet first. You're taught not to do that, and that's what he did. So I mean, definitely got penalized, kicked out of the game. Yeah, that's all I really have to say about that.
Yeah. All right, let's get to that. We have to begin. I know you want to get to Mahomes and the Chiefs clearly, but we have to first go to Thursday. The Bears have finally just pulled the trigger. Fire Eberflus. First time in their history they've ever fired a coach mid-season.
Wow.
Now, I didn't think they would do it on the Thanksgiving timing, but they did.
They waited a day.
Yeah, but still, I was surprised. Yeah, this seems like it was finally the straw that broke the camel's back. This timeout debacle. I'm calling it only because look, Caleb Williams probably should have a little bit of the blame on this one, but it's the head coach. You have a timeout, and you see him, frankly, drowning out there. Like, use it. Just like use it. Like I don't. Yeah. I knew we were eating we had just got done eating Thanksgiving dinner when this portion happened. By the way, dinner during lunch is an interesting one, but that's a different discussion point. We just got done eating Thanksgiving dinner, and as you know, everything's kind of developing here in this final drive for the Bears and everything. And I look over at my dad when that play gets done, and they're getting back to the line, and there's clearly confusion. There's clearly some miscommunication, right, or struggle in the communication line. And the minute I saw Cole Kmet being the one directing traffic at the line of scrimmage, I'm like, the Bears need to call this timeout, right? And the other people watching the game were, no, they need to save this timeout. I'm like, well, then they need to snap it now. Like, damn whatever you're working on, snap it and clock it. And they just didn't do it. And I don't know if it cost them the game, right?
Because it would have
quote
tied
unquote.
it, right?
They would have had 6, and then the extra point would have tied it. But, you know, it did cost them the game in the sense of, like, it was one play and that was it, and it was a overthrown ball, and, you know, if it's straight up defense, probably would have been intercepted, you know. But it's just wild to me that this is what finally broke Camel's back. And it sounds like there was locker room stuff. The players were frustrated. Going back to the Hail Mary play in Washington where Eberflus kind of deflected the responsibility and put it on the players. Bad situation. And now, I mean, it's kind of funny watching Bears fans kind of be like, well, it's kind of weird how all this is matching up to how we've treated Mitch Trubisky and then Justin Fields as well. I'm like, yeah, no kidding. Like, that's what everybody else has been trying to tell you guys for at least 2 years now. Like, you know, it's wild to me. Williams will be going into next year more than likely on his 3rd different offensive coordinator and 3rd different playbook. It's just a bad situation.
Apparently Caleb Williams called an audible on that last play too.
Correct. Yeah.
And so he deserves some of the blame too. And to throw the ball downfield, I don't know if he was looking at the play clock and not the game clock because the play clock had more seconds.
Right.
Because he deserves some of the blame too. But Eberflus, when you get down to 10, 8 seconds, call that timeout. You're running out of time.
Buck stops here type thing.
But the clock keeps ticking, a lot of pressure. You don't know what to do. You want that timeout. And, and what really hurt him, what really cost him his job, I don't know if he was going to get fired regardless, but
no, I think at the end of the year.
Yeah, but what really cost him was him defending it after. He's like, that was the right call.
Right, and that's the thing that goes back to like the Hail Mary in Washington where these players sound like it just finally boiled over and a lot of them just finally lost.
I don't know if he's just a complete idiot or he's like, get me fired. I'm going to say this to get me out of here.
Now, though, you bring up what he said. I will say this, and this is not me defending Eberflus. This is me coming from now in my more or less, you know, to some degree, 10th year of coaching something, way, shape, or form. The Bears did him incredibly dirty Friday. Like, borderline laughable to me. If I was inquiring for a head coaching job, the Bears would now be at the bottom of my list. The fact that they trotted him out there for the day after press conference that every coach does, waited 2 hours after that to fire him. Now, I don't know if they already made their minds up at that point or what, but the fact you had him go out for that press conference.
He came out and said, I assumed to be coaching.
Correct. Turn around 2 hours later and fire him, and then, frankly, waffle when you were pressed on it at your own press conference the next day about the firing. That screams badly run organization right now. And it sucks because, frankly, they've built a pretty good roster there, all things considered. It's the structure, right, of the building that's just like, this is bad, really bad. And they need to, this final month of the season, I don't know organizationally what you can do, right? But once January, whatever it is, technically 10th comes around, I miss ballparking here because I'm not 100% sure. You know, you're going to have to look in the mirror and take a real assessment of what you got going on in the building.
Rooting for our guy Ryan Poles, but man, it's
he's built a great roster, to be fair.
It is an interesting situation. Yeah. And it might not even be his fault.
No. The tough part is, right, and this is, I understand when teams do this. Washington has it this way. A lot of teams do, right, where you have the GM and the president be different people. It just seems like it's not working out there. Or maybe, like you said, I think Poles has done a really good job from the building perspective of the roster. Executionally, though, on the other end of it, I don't know what the hell is going on. Yeah. It's not good, though.
No. And it's not going to get any better either. They have not won since that Hail Mary. It's been a long time since they won. I actually know what that feels like, but yeah, just not a good year for the Bears. Heard a lot about the Bears this year. A lot more Bears talk than usual. And that's because it's a negative talk, and they've been talking about how bad they've been. And I'm not sold on Caleb Williams. He's had a couple flashy games. I'm not sold that he's got the it factor to be a star quarterback in this league. I just don't. I'm not sold.
Well, I mean,
early in his career.
I had a lot of doubts about him because of the college stuff and just mechanically too. There's not a lot of.
I just don't.
He struggles on the deep ball. There's certain stuff where I had problems with it in college, and it's coming up in his rookie season.
I just don't think he has it.
Yeah, well, that's the key part in it to me that I knew back at USC. He did not have a killer instinct. He did not know when it was a go time, and I don't know if that's necessarily what showed up necessarily against Detroit. To be fair, because I think it's a little bit of two different scenarios we're kind of talking about in that. But, yeah, and I'm not, I know this will kind of sound bad the way I'm about to probably say it, but, like, he doesn't keep his emotions in the right lane when they should be in a different lane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's very weird. Like, nobody talks about the Hail Mary play in Washington, right? But the way he reacted in the moment, to me, was pretty telling. Like, he just, kind of threw his hands up and walked away. And I get part of it, right? But he was, the only one who walked away. Like...
Even before that, the guy who tipped the ball at the end of Hail Mary, that right there shows that you've kind of lost the locker room before even that Hail Mary happened. So, it's a mess there.
Yeah.
But do we care?
Well... I mean, maybe not necessarily in terms of, the actual football playing, but I don't know. You're back in the playoffs for fantasy. I need to reevaluate things, so maybe for that type of stuff, Anyway, you kind of brought up another refereeing issue involving the Chiefs. Look, I do not believe that the refs necessarily sway games in such ways. Right, I do not think that is the case. I do think.
What about the Rams-Saints championship game?
Let me finish. I do believe, and this is across all sports, that certain teams get better leeway and stuff like that in certain areas. That being said, tough hang when you have your line judge calling a false start and the play being dead, and you overrule that with the play and a penalty that happened after.
Yeah,
Not going to lie, it's a tough hang.
It's like the ultimate Chiefs-Raiders ending.
Oh, I can think of maybe a better one.
The Chiefs are lucky, and the Raiders are just cursed.
You wouldn't think maybe a better one would be the Raiders intercept Mahomes, and as they're taking it back, they drop the ball before they get to the goal line, and something like that happening, because to me that's peak at least Raider shenanigans.
And I got some family that's Raiders fans.
Same, yeah.
Your dad, obviously, and it's just tough. I kind of root for the Raiders a lot, and it's just, I don't know if I could really commit to that team. The one year they had Derek Carr, who was playing awesome before his first injury there, and then he gets hurt, and this whole season gets tanked that year. They've just been cursed for a while now, but they have a Super Bowl. It's not like they haven't won like the Lions.
True, yeah.
So they have history. So I don't know if it's a full curse like the Lions, but the Lions win, the Eagles win, the Chiefs win, and the Bills win.
Well, I see what you're talking about now.
Those are the top 4 teams in the league.
Ew.
Your Ravens lost again.
My Ravens.
Yeah, you got sold out of a little.
I was the one who picked Philly. You were the one who picked Baltimore.
Well, come on. Get your head out.
Hold on. I didn't plan on doing this but you brought it up. Do we want to have the discussion involving certain Ravens right now or no?
Sure.
Okay.
Tucker?
I was going to start there and then go to a different one. Tucker done?
No. I think I told you this on Monday when we were hanging out at your brother's place.
Yeah, but this isn't Monday. This is Wednesday on Fresh Takes.
And I agree. Mason Crosby lost it that one year. No, he didn't ever come back to Mason Crosby, but he was awful that one year. But he came back and finished his career off pretty strong. I think Tucker.
You know Crosby's not technically retired, by the way.
No, I didn't know that.
Yep.
But his career, the good days are gone. But
Never say never.
so Tucker was the GOAT, still the GOAT.
No, he's not.
So I have full confidence he can come back next year. A lot of times it's just the yips with kicking.
Except it's not the yips. With him.
You think it's just
Ready to have your mind blown? Okay. So, a special teams guy has brought up that Tucker, when he kicks, derives his power from the hips and not the legs like most kickers. So that involves you have to be a bit more precise than normal when on your follow through. He also plants closer to the hold than most kickers. So that also makes it a little bit more. You have to be more precise. They think that he might just be like his age has finally caught up to him in the past. Like I said, this has been going on now for a year and a half with him, and they just think it's time is caught up. Now, I think his time in Baltimore's done. I agree. He'll probably go a couple more years somewhere. I mean, the kickers will last a while. As long as you're healthy, you're probably going to play at some point in NFL
that Prater's
season.
still out there, isn't he?
No, I don't think so. But point being, as long as you're healthy, you're usually going to get some sort of run at some point in an NFL season. I mean, Zane Gonzalez is back this year.
Yeah.
You know, so.
It's been a while.
Well, so when you're bad, you're bad.
He was never good.
True. So on here, longtime listeners know about my Mike Tomlin take. Think my take, and this applies anyway because of my broader Baltimore issue, but Baltimore's caught between a rock and a hard place with this. And I don't think you're going to feel the same way as I do. But I think you have to take a serious consideration at parting ways with John Harbaugh. The tough part is he's good. Good to the point that other coaches wouldn't get the leeway I don't think he does. But you have to remember, the Ravens were going to fire him a few years ago when he started Flacco over Lamar Jackson. So, I don't know. But like I've been going back to, when these big games happen for the Ravens, they just don't show up.
I don't disagree.
Really?
But
Okay.
I think it's time to start considering the Ravens as the AFC's Dallas Cowboys.
I mean, I've been saying that all year, though.
And you want to know why? Because they don't have a Super Bowl winning quarterback. They have a quarterback in Lamar Jackson that puts up great regular season numbers like Dak Prescott. Got a lot of good pieces around him. I think, decent coach. Mike McCarthy is still a decent coach. Mm-hmm. But they just don't have what it takes to win in the playoffs until they prove me wrong, which they won't. And, it could be a situation like Pete Carroll in Seattle. It's just time. It's time to move on. Mm-hmm. Maybe John Harbaugh doesn't feel the same. I don't think Pete Carroll felt the same. I don't think he was ready.
No, Pete Carroll definitely did not feel.
He was not ready to give it up.
Yeah.
And I just think they need a new voice in there.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with it. I don't think it's going to happen yet.
Mm-hmm.
But if they choke again, losing the playoffs again before the conference championship game, not good. Not good. And there's two really good teams in the AFC. And that's obviously the Jaguars and Bills.
Yeah, last point before we get to our picks. Did want to bring up the Bills because we had our second snow game of the year. Of course.
Go to the widescreen.
No. The people know why we're sighing. The regulars will know. First snow game. I mean, we both picked Buffalo. It's not like nobody really thought San Fran was going to be in it, but Buffalo just handled it way better. I think it, again, shows that, I mean, I know what we said back and forth anyway, within the past couple of weeks, but I think this kind of solidifies the fact that you, for sure this year, if you haven't, you do have to take Buffalo as a beyond serious threat. They just outperform, man, no matter what. And it's interesting. I mean, they're out west this week against the Rams, and I know a lot of people are kind of timid still about this, but like, they aren't really going into a hostile environment.
There's usually a lot of Bills fans out there.
Like, really, the last true test for the Bills is probably going to be next week in Detroit. Because then, I mean, after that, do you know the remaining schedule for them after that?
Isn't it Patriots twice?
Patriots, Jets, Patriots.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's interesting, and they still have a shot at getting that first seed.
Yep.
And they have the tiebreaker. Should be a tie situation. They have the tiebreaker.
That's true. It's huge. That's why that game was big. I know the Bills are really good at home. They lose in the playoffs at home a little bit too much. Lost 2 years in a row, right? Cincinnati and Kansas City.
Yep.
I don't know, man.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Cincinnati was home. Yeah.
That was a snow game, too. Matt was there. I don't know, man. They're good. They clinched the division because the division's garbage. The other three. Don't get me going on the Jets.
I'll say this. And I know what we've been talking about the Chiefs, but the Chiefs, again, only win by 2 points, or is what Tirico's been calling it, a one-possession game.
Yeah.
To be fair, numerically speaking, they can't keep getting away with it.
No.
So, like, this is the year for the Bills to get them, for sure, in my mind.
It is, until they prove it. I will not think it.
Yeah.
But it was a good win on Sunday. Niners are dead. CMC hurt again.
CMC's career might be dead.
Yeah, it's not good.
No.
You can't keep suffering these injuries. Also, I get it. Snow game's cool. Little too slippery, I think, out there.
Okay, so we talked about this on Monday a little bit on the Bills podcast, and I brought it up. And as a professional, let alone football team, but any professional sports team, to not be prepared for the environment you're going into is like negligent by the equipment staff.
Yeah.
And I can't necessarily put all the blame on them because the players are the ones who tell them what they need and everything. But like, as a player in that situation, how do you not have long cleats ready to go?
I know.
Like, baffling to me.
And they lose Mason as well, so now they're really hurting. And they're 5-7, and the Seahawks are playing pretty well right now.
Yeah.
And a NFC that's way better than the AFC. So
they're lucky by the numbers that they are still technically in it because they are not.
Yeah. Definitely tough loss.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what the direction of them for this year. It might be a punt year, as people have been calling it.
Yeah.
But for the Bills, I will say that Amari Cooper, somehow Allen receiving touchdown, do not agree on that at all, but was pretty sick.
Yeah.
Receiving touchdown. He handed it off. He doesn't even get credit for a catch. And which coach doesn't get credit for a throw? How can it be received?
I don't know.
But anyway, it was pretty sick.
Yeah, definitely was.
Pretty cool play. You don't usually see that. Made it in the snow. It made it better.
Yeah.
Congrats to Josh Allen. Got engaged to my girlfriend. So, yeah.
Hey, speaking of good and numbers and everything like that, Nick, any other week you would have probably chopped into the lead to some degree.
Really?
You went 11-5.
Nice. I won.
No, you did not.
Ah.
Because I went 14-2.
Whoa. What were the two?
Arizona
Arizona lost to who?
and the Giants.
The Giants.
You remember I was like,
Oh,
I had a feeling.
Uh,
I don't think I'm going 14-2 this week, mostly because, well,
Arizona lost like
there's not 16 games this week. For one, we have 6 teams on bye, the final bye week of the season. Baltimore, Denver, Houston, Indianapolis, New England, and Washington on bye. So 13 games to pick from.
Yep.
They begin Thursday night, Green Bay at Detroit. Detroit, 3-point favorites.
great Thursday game.
Yes.
Thursday games never let us down.
Well, this one might just be. Well, no, to be fair, they've both been off for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they tried planning that.
Right.
Where is it?
Detroit.
Going Detroit.
Yeah. If this was at Green Bay,
Maybe.
pretty sure I'm going Green Bay. But, yeah, with it being in Detroit, I'm going Detroit.
Big statement game.
For both teams, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, our first of the early window on Sunday, 1 p.m. at Jacksonville at Tennessee. Tennessee, 4-point favorites.
Don't really care, but I'll go. I'll go Jacksonville because Giants got to pass them.
I'm going Tennessee mostly because, Trevor's out. We saw what happens when Mac Jones is in there at this point.
True.
And Tennessee does got a little bit of fight in them. They got enough in there that they can be pesky.
Yeah.
So, all right, Jets at the Dolphins. Dolphins 6-point favorites.
Another good one.
By the way, this is pretty much, we only had 1, 2, 3 home dogs this week.
Wow.
10 of the favorites are home.
Aaron Rodgers 3-part documentary series coming out soon. Obviously, I can't wait for that.
I'm not watching it.
Uh,
Care less.
I'm going Dolphins.
So I'm going Dolphins too, but there has been a weird feeling in my gut looking at this game all day.
Really?
I wouldn't be surprised if somehow the Jets were to back into this one.
They're due to win one, right?
Yeah, I think that might be part of it, but I just can't. For the sake of this, I just can't bring myself to taking them. All right, Atlanta at Minnesota. Minnesota 5.5-point favorites against the Falcons. Now, could be a Kirk Cousins revenge game, or it could be a Kirk Cousins playing the Chargers last week 4-interception game.
I feel like Penix is going to get a start here soon.
Or at least some sort of playing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know if it's going to be this week, but I'm going Minnesota at home.
I'm going Minnesota as well. And obviously we pick head-to-head on this, but I will do this. Take a page out of College Game Day. They win, but they don't cover.
Ooh.
Yep. New Orleans at the Giants. Giants are getting 4.5. Our first of the home underdogs.
Giants eliminated now. That man, New England, both eliminated, along with Raiders. One time, New England and Giants used to be the two best teams.
How the mighty have fallen.
I will go New Orleans.
I went New Orleans as well, but it's weird because this is a lot like that Jet-Dolphin game to me where there's something like in the pit of my stomach going like, the Giants could. But again, for the sake of this, I can't. Carolina at the Eagles. The Eagles are 12.5-point favorites. Your biggest line of the day.
I don't agree with that.
I agree with it. I know me and you, I think, are on the same plane.
Carolina has been playing good football,
Yes.
man.
Yep.
Give them some prop.
Yeah.
Taking the Eagles,
Yep.
but that plus 12.5.
Nick, say it with me. Eagles, but they don't cover.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Nice.
All right.
Respect on Taper's Panthers. Tepper.
Yeah.
That guy sucks, but
Yeah. All right, we got Cleveland at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh 6.5-point favorites.
Jameis Winston will throw 4 touchdowns, but also 5 picks. I will take Steelers.
Yeah, I'm going Pittsburgh here as well.
Jerry Jeudy, though, balling.
Hey, revenge game.
Hey, those exist, man.
Yep. All right, our last of the 1 o'clock window. Vegas at Tampa Bay. Buccaneers are 6.5-point favorites at home.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Tampa Bay as well. 3 late window. Seattle at Arizona kicks it off. 2.5-point favorites at home for the Cardinals.
Big game.
Mm-hmm.
Taking the Cardinals.
I'm going to go Seattle here.
Why, Paul?
Because I said so. No. Look, Seattle got the win up in Seattle, comeback win against them earlier this year.
Seattle, I think, has won 6 in a row against the Cardinals.
Yeah. And I just think the way the Cardinals lost last week, frankly, that was the Fox game in our area last week in the early window. So I watched a lot of that game. And the score didn't necessarily indicate it, but the Cardinals were pretty much in control of that game until the fourth quarter.
Who
So,
did they play?
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Oh, yeah.
So, they got to figure some stuff out here. They're definitely still punching above, I think, what people thought they were going to do this year. But some of the stuff that I think people were hesitant with them, it's rearing its head a little bit right now. So, I'm going to go with Seattle here.
Nice.
Yeah. Buffalo at the Rams. Rams are 5-point home underdogs.
Buffalo.
Yeah. Pretty easy there.
The Rams are not bad.
No, but I don't know if their defense is going to do anything.
They're also on the road.
Yeah.
At home.
Yeah. Chicago at San Fran, last of the 4 o'clock window. The 49ers are 4.5-point favorites.
You know how I love.
I know what you're going to do here.
And you know how much I love games with the coach after they get fired. I'm taking the Bears.
I'm still going to take San Fran here.
Why? Even though I've already used my why. Why?
Because I said so. No.
You were impressed. You were impressed on Sunday night.
I think I'm not impressed with San Fran, but more like I just don't know what the Bears really got at this point. So
They don't have a coach.
yeah. All right, Sunday Night Football, Chargers at the Chiefs. Chiefs are 3.5-point favorites.
Good game.
Yeah.
Chiefs.
Yep.
By a
Chiefs
Chiefs scoop up a fumble right at the last second, and the Chargers lose. There's a penalty, but it's waved off by the refs.
Are you doing the TikTok thing?
No.
Okay.
Something crazy how the Chiefs win.
All right. And then Monday Night Football, Cincinnati at Dallas. The Cowboys are 5-point home underdogs.
In Springfield.
That's true. It is the Simpsons game.
I'm taking Bart and the Bengals.
Kind of wanted to take Dallas here, but can't.
No.
Can't. Going Cincy.
No.
I have a lot of. This is a pretty big game though for the Bengals. They got a lot of soul searching here potentially going on.
Simpsons Road Rage, great game.
Yep. Let's get to college football here. Boy, oh boy.
What a weekend.
We need to do some discussing, debating, if you will. Look, I was the one probably sitting here the most kind of going like, we probably should have an expanded college football playoff. Out of the two of us. I wasn't a fan they went to 12 right away, but, you know, you got to do what you got to do.
We're here now.
I'm going to start here and then work backwards. I didn't have a problem with the rankings because that's exactly how I expected them to do it. They were going to stack it in a way that made the most sense for their thought process to get one of those SEC brands back in, no matter what. And it looks like that's going to be Alabama, which isn't shocking. Now, my one gripe, if we want to get into the true rankings, my one gripe I do have is Penn State over Notre Dame. Here nor there in the grand scheme of it going into this weekend because Notre Dame not playing, Penn State still has a game.
They lose, Notre Dame jumps.
Correct. Now this is why I'm saying I was going to work backwards. First off, who would have thought that Syracuse would be the one causing chaos in the college football playoff?
Good loss, apparently. Some people were saying.
But the reason why we're saying that is because that's how the committee is treating these Alabama losses all of a sudden, right? And these Georgia to a lesser degree, depends really what happens this weekend, right? You know, quality of loss. Now, I understand Miami. Maybe their strength of schedule isn't great. Maybe Alabama's is a hair better. Sure, I'm not going to sit here and deny that Alabama more than likely has the better strength of schedule. I'm not going to sit here and deny that. My issue with the stuff, right, is Alabama's losses, right? And this is where I'm going to do some head-to-head. They go to Oklahoma. And mind you, Oklahoma now will not be a 500 team this season. They will finish at worst one game above 500. But going into that game, and still in the thought process of everybody else, 500 team. Criminally underachieved this year for what they were planning to be. Right? Alabama loses by 3 possessions.
2 weeks ago.
Well, 2 weeks ago now. Apologies, right? But to that end, they only beat Auburn by 2 possessions. They won by 14. An Auburn team that just beat A&M. I get that. But that, you mean to tell me that Auburn team is good? They aren't that good. Now, Miami goes to Syracuse, who is now ranked. Since I'm not. 8-3, right? Probably overachieving still technically a little bit from what was expected. And only lose by 1 possession. Right? Someone tells me here that we're looking at stuff differently. Now, if you want to get into more of this, I'm more than willing to do it, right? Alabama loses to Vanderbilt, who overachieved this year, right? But certainly not top echelon.
You would defend 6-6?
Correct. Miami lost on the road at Georgia Tech, who just took Georgia to 8 overtimes.
Who's Alabama's big win?
Correct. If you're going to put in another SEC team, in my mind, over Miami,
South
Carolina.
Who's playing well right now.
Correct.
Alabama is not.
Exactly.
2 weeks ago.
Yep.
They lost.
Now, if you want to get deeper in, right, I mean, Alabama loses to Texas, whatever. That one's a little bit different because, as we've seen now, right, Texas is just a pretty good beast. They're going to look to split the season series at the moment with Georgia on Saturday. But, you know, it is absolutely crazy to me that we are at this spot and we're still figuring out a way to get don't get me wrong, they're a good Alabama. It's a good team Alabama has, right? But they aren't top 12 in the country good. I can tell you that much.
No.
And look, I get it. The SEC may be a little bit better than every other conference. I'm not going to sit here and deny that either. But I can tell you this much. The bottom of the SEC is probably the worst out of the Power Four. I'm more than willing to go out on that limb.
Yep.
And I don't care what anybody tells me at that point.
Yep.
You mean to tell me Mississippi State would beat Stanford? No. Stanford would freaking probably mop the floor with Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm. Could they beat Purdue?
That one's the interesting one.
About that
That one's the interesting one. But collectively, right, the bottom of the SEC is the worst of the Power Four. I don't think there's a really discussion there, if I'm being totally honest. It's just wild to me that, and it is because of the brand, but it's wild to me that brand, that a lot of these same people on this committee before Nick Saban got there was still kicking down on the ground because of how they had fallen.
Yeah.
Right, is getting treated right now. It's wild to me, especially, and this is going to be the funny part in all this, right, is Jalen Milroe, he gone. He's still got 2 years of eligibility left. He's not going back to Alabama next year. If he is, he's not starting. I mean, that's like one of the worst kept secrets right now. It's the fact that, like, they got people lined up to come in and take over for him. Like, that's what they think of him right now.
Kind of like McCord last year.
Correct. It's crazy to me how this ranking right now is whatever. And I feel bad for Miami. I think the ACC should be at least 2.
Makes you wonder.
I personally would put in SMU no matter what. I would personally have Miami no matter what.
Clemson beats them this week.
That's the kicker. And that's what a lot of people already are discussing, is the fact that SMU should probably be in over Alabama no matter what, but the committee's probably going to do the whole entire song and dance of, like, we really have to figure this out.
It would be funny, though, to see Clemson be the one to knock out Alabama.
It would be weirdly satisfying, kind of, in all honesty. And I don't know if that's just because of my own hilarity I feel at Clemson, or the fact that, like, again, I don't think a lot of people fully know it's like Dabo's an Alabama guy. Like, Dabo played at Alabama, got his coaching started at Alabama. Like, he's the last of the Bear Bryant tree, technically. Like, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, so, I mean, for the people who are confused about I don't know what happened there.
Nothing's changed. What happened there is you continuously move around. And
For those people who are still confused about the bracket, it's pretty simple right now. We have 9 conference championship games. The top 5 of those 9 winners get into the tournament. And the top 4 of those 5 get the buys. So, it makes you wonder if, let's say Clemson wins. They're not guaranteed to get a top 4 seed.
well, I have some breaking NFL news. Deontay Johnson suspended for 1 game for conduct detrimental to the team.
Bro,
Yeah. Baltimore, what's going on?
I don't know, man. But it makes you wonder. Clemson, if they win, they're probably going to be like the 12th seed. But if Boise State loses, then all of a sudden the Big 12 gets back into the top 5 or top 4. It's going to be interesting this weekend.
Yeah, there's a lot of team chaos still in play here, to kind of put it mildly. I don't foresee it fully happening. Oh, you all right?
Yeah.
All right, stretch that thing out. Yeah, I don't see team chaos necessarily going full effect this weekend. I would love more for it to happen, but I just don't see it happening. Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot still kind of in play here to figure out. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, to get back to maybe a couple of game specific things, right? Being at that Syracuse-Miami game,
Great environment.
and I've been to some bigger games in the Dome, as I call them, right? Obviously, Clemson in 19, coming off that 2018 year. There was a couple of Louisville games that ended up being pretty big. NC State game was pretty big. Nothing. I mean, I've been to a couple really bigger basketball games. I've been to one of the Duke games. Been to a number of the UNC games. Been to, going back to the Big East days, a couple of really big, actually, West Virginia games when they were pretty big in the schedule. Nothing was as loud as it was Saturday, in my experience. Most electric atmosphere. My ears were legitimately ringing leaving the Dome. It was awesome.
21-0.
It was awesome. Biggest comeback in program history. It's huge for Syracuse. I understand where some people are probably already sick of hearing whatever. I don't think the broader college football fan base realizes how big this game actually is.
Recruiting.
Fran Brown's first year. They had so many recruits there that they actually had some of them sitting up in the 300 level, which is crazy, but like they didn't have anywhere else to put them. And I think the opponent too, and that's the part that kind of sucks in this, is like the talk around Miami and now everything. But it was a big game for history purposes. I mean, Miami's one of the older, not true rivals of Syracuse, right? But it's that old Big East / independent game that Syracuse used to be playing yearly, right, through the 80s or through the 90s and everything. Fran Brown's for sure defining win at the moment, without a doubt. And especially with other stuff going on at Syracuse right now that we'll get to in a second. The fact that you just know what direction the football team is heading, that's a big flag in the sand type, moment that the program needed, the team, players, coaching staff, recruiting all needed. And I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Pat was with me. He's a Miami fan, obviously. Brought him up. And Hank, who also has the season tickets up there. It's kind of funny because, like, Hank after the fact, like, you all right? I'm like, I'm taking it all in. Like, Syracuse doesn't usually win those games in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm used to having, the stuff thrown at me, not the other way around. That felt pretty good for a change,
It's just going to make next season that much more
Yeah.
anticipation.
Yeah.
You're going to be very excited.
All right, let's send some champagne to.
We doing all 9 games?
No,
You picked the top 5 out of the 9.
I did mostly
Any
because
FCS games?
no.
Some Division 3?
What?
Some Division
No, we only have 5. I have 5 games,
3? Yeah, I know.
ranked teams. Next week we'll have to get into the weird stuff, but yeah.
Let's get some Cortland action.
You tell me where I can find lines on D3 football. I'm going to start questioning. All right, number 20, Friday night, UNLV at number 10, Boise State, Mountain West Championship. Boise State is a 4-point favorite.
Boise State.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree there. Wouldn't be surprised if this is kind of a shootout, quote unquote, but I'm going Boise.
Is Boise State finally going to make the college football playoff?
We'll see. They might get a bye. As long as they win, I think they get the bye.
I agree.
All right, number 16, Iowa State on Saturday. At when I say at, that's just me going through the paces here. These are all neutral-sited games. So, except I think Mountain West. I think that's at Boise State.
I don't know.
So, either way, Big 12 is not at Arizona State. Number 15, they're the home team. Arizona State's a 2-point favorite.
Upset. Cyclones.
Wow.
Get the win.
That would be now
conference
that's team chaos right there.
That conference has been crazy for all year long. It's got to end that way.
I'm going Arizona State.
Projected last, though. Nice story.
Yeah. The Fighting Dillinghams. SEC title game, number 5, Georgia, number 2, Texas. Texas, 2.5-point favorites.
What's going to hurt Texas is that they have no quarterback. Not a fan.
It's not like Carson Beck is that much better, if at all.
No. I'm not talking about Georgia right now. I'm talking about Texas. They're not going to win a national title with that Ewers kid. Not going to happen. Taking Georgia in this game.
I'm going to take Texas. I don't think they get season swept. So,
I don't know.
despite horns down, we're going Texas. Big Ten title game, number 3, Penn State, and number 1, Oregon. Oregon is only 3.5-point favorites in this game.
Really? You're asking me who?
Yep, I have to. I legally have to. If you look at the fine print, I legally have to.
I'm taking Oregon by a mile.
Yeah, I'm taking Oregon by a ton. And then ACC title game, number 17, Clemson, number 8, SMU. SMU 2.5-point favorites.
I'm going SMU.
As much as I would love to help Fran Brown's dear friend Dabo Swinney, I'm taking SMU.
Clemson's still in the hunt for the playoff.
Yep. I went 5-0 last week, by the way. You went 4-1, so
Nice.
we needed that. Shout out Syracuse.
Parlay that.
Yeah, before we get out here, did want to spend a quick minute on college hoops. Chaotic Thanksgiving week, to say the least. UConn drops 3 straight in Maui. They are
Falls to 20.
unranked. Well, depending upon which ranking you're looking at. Dan Hurley now at this point. I'm a big Dan Hurley guy, but man, dude, just take your losses and shut up.
And he doesn't. He
This is
never does.
bad. It's bad. Yeah, I mean, I'll leave it at that for you for the
Yeah,
moment.
he doesn't ever shut up. He's won 2 back-to-back national championships, as you all know, and he cost him the first game in Maui with his technicals, and I don't know. I don't like him. He's a baby, and he says he's never going to play 3 games in a row. Like, come on, dude.
Doesn't even want to do at the MTEs anymore.
You lose 1 tournament and you're crying. Like, come on. So that's one of the storylines. The other storyline is that the ACC is dead.
Yeah, so I was going to do a more tie-in with this because Syracuse is just
Not good.
no. And the ACC only has 1 win so far. I believe it's 8-1 in favor of the SEC out of last night. So not looking great.
And the one we got was Clemson,
Yeah.
upsetting Kentucky.
Yeah, which kind of crazy in all honesty. But yeah, Syracuse not looking great. The ACC as a whole, I don't know about the ACC as a whole, but it's very apparent, at least early on, that it's not what they were hoping for this year.
No.
That's for sure.
It's not even this.
Except there is one true, really surprised team out of the ACC that I do think is good. Yes. And it takes a lot to kind of swallow that a little bit, I think, for both of us in this sense. But, I mean, you want to talk about maybe not as much as it would have been last year, but, like, Capel really needed this.
Yeah.
And the program really needed it.
It's been a slow, when he took over, it's been a slow process of getting this team to where he wants it.
Which is crazy, which is crazy.
He's got a winnable conference this year, and I think he could put together a nice, maybe 20-win season this year. And we got our first conference games this weekend.
We do. Syracuse and Notre Dame for one.
Yeah, first of two-game series this year. Notre Dame's dropped 5 in a row. They've lost their point guard, star player, for the last 3 games.
Sam.
So, yeah, that's right. They just lost Starling, so ex-Notre Dame player. So, yeah, and that Carlos guy, not really good. Not a good start for him, is it?
No.
Orange.
No. Yeah, it's not. Things are not looking great up on the hill, to say the least.
It's just they can't shoot. They can't make free throws.
See, for me, it's not so much the offensive stuff, because if there's one thing Virginia has taught us is, like, defense can keep you in games. They just can't. Syracuse is a bad defensive team, man. Yeah. They are bad defensively.
I don't know if it's all Ron Red.
Well, I think at the end of the day, it kind of goes back to something we said with the Ravens. At the end of the day, Buck has to stop at somebody.
I feel you with Syracuse, because Notre Dame, they just, any ranked team they play, they just don't win.
Yeah.
I think they maybe got one last year, but over the last 5 years, these two teams, man, they just don't beat ranked teams. They're not getting any quality wins.
Notre Dame basketball, and this goes back to the last, even, like, technically handful of years with Bray. Like, they're stuck between this rock and a hard place of, like, you have the name brand whatever, even for basketball, but, like, how can you not figure it out, really? Like, and I don't know, Shrewsbury I thought was kind of crazy taking the job, if I'm being honest. I mean, we talked about that at the time, even just because of the momentum he was building at Penn State. But
he's an Indiana guy.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how it was. His leash is way longer than Red's, in my mind, right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you can fire really any college coach in the sense midseason, just the way it's structured now. But, like, man, I don't think Red's really for the job, if I'm being honest. I don't know, because I have to wonder what's going on.
The problem with it,
I don't know what's going on at, like, practice. I don't know what they do practice.
Those final years of Boeheim were not good, and we're basically just.
But the wild part is, like, it's worse right now, though.
I know it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
Well, they were in a downtrend.
Yeah.
And they just stayed with that same path.
But that's why, and
Notre Dame got a brand.
But that's why, and I got blasted for it. I said they should go out of the system, and they didn't, and here we are.
And you knew they weren't gonna.
No.
Which is kind
of. They might have to after this, though. Like, depending upon what happens.
It's gonna be like a Patrick Ewing. Time for you to go.
Yeah, Ewing probably overstayed his welcome by about 4 years.
Yeah, he just couldn't coach.
No.
He's just some people just can't do it.
That's the wild part is, because, like, Ewing was a great assistant coach, and I'm sure, and we know Red was a great assistant coach. But some people just aren't cut out for the head coaching stuff.
No.
You know.
And it's just, what's it been? This is year 2
for Red.
Yeah, it's only year 2.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But if average Joe, the main issue with that, though, is, and we'll get out of here kind of on this note, but the main issue is if people like us and average Joes are kind of sniffing out the BS, like, that's not good, you know.
It's just, they're nowhere near to the Syracuse basketball we grew up watching.
Yeah. The as it's been said a ton here in the past 24 hours, the orange standard, you know.
Kind of sad.
Yeah. All right, we'll get out of here on that note. I really appreciate everybody for listening and tuning in. Programming notes here for the month. We'll kind of get a little bit of a broader stroke here and then get more in depth maybe on the stuff here next week. Normal schedule here the next couple Wednesdays. After that, we're kind of figuring out just the way the holidays fall, how we're going to approach Christmas and New Year week. I think we're kind of preliminary targeting Thursday as it stands right now. The New Year's Eve week might have to be a Monday, more out of principle than anything else, but we're going to figure all that out here within the next week or
Stay
so
with us.
and hammer that out. But yeah, just the way everything's falling. Next couple weeks will still be normal as they always are on Wednesdays. After that, gonna get shaky just with the holidays. So, Nick, who are you shouting out this week?
I'm going to shout out Sam Shields.
Shout out Sam.
Final week of fantasy football regular season, and it's technically the playoffs for us.
Yeah.
We have a matchup this week. Winner is in, loser is out. It's that simple.
Win or go home.
Win or go home. Playoffs start now between me and Sam. So shout out Sam. Best of luck. Shout out.
All right.
Love one another.
We'll get out here on that note. That was a very niche thing. So appreciate everybody for listening, tuning in. You can find all our stuff here on FingerLeaks1.com, the FL1 YouTube channel, and all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and, do you know it, Nick?
No.
Amazon Music. So we will catch everybody next Wednesday. Enjoy the week, everybody.